Hello, my name is Sam, and in this video course, we're going to learn how to create a Harry Potter inspired sorting hat filter. Here's a quick preview of what we're going to be building. When we tap on the screen, the sorting hat appears from the sky, lands on our user's head, and then it shows the name of the house that they have been selected on. If we tap the screen again, the hat will disappear off the user's head, and we can keep on repeating that same motion as many times as we want to. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be covering some really simple stuff like dressing our stage and adding new 3D objects into our world. And then later on in the course, we're going to get onto the more complicated things with using patches and this sort of pseudo programming language to really add those exciting layers of interactivity to our filters and give you the building blocks to build your own really exciting unique filters of your own after the course is over. So with that, we're going to start. I'm going to jump back to about 2 weeks in the past where I'm going to look slightly different, going to be wearing slightly different clothes, and we're going to start by downloading the apps that we need. So let's get into it. Okay, to get started, we're going to need to download the Spark AR Studio, which is what we're going to be using to create our filters. And we can do that by going to sparkar.facebook.com. And then looking for wherever the download link is. There should be one somewhere on your screen. For me, it's in the top right hand corner, and then there's another link here, which I'm just going to click through. Once the app is finished downloading, go ahead and install it and then open the app up. Okay, so once you've downloaded Spark AR, you can go ahead and open it. I'm using a Mac, so I'm just going to use Spotlight to search for it and open it up. The first thing that you're going to see is a login screen. You're going to need a Facebook account to continue. So if you don't have one, you'll need to sign up for one. You can do that by clicking on the sign up for Facebook link at the bottom of this screen. Or if you do, you can just go ahead and use your Facebook login here. And once you've done that, you should have access to use Spark AR. Cool. So I've entered my Facebook details in, and to continue, I just need to click on the login button. And that should take me straight through to this very welcoming looking screen. For us, we are going to want to work totally from scratch. So we're going to want to select a blank project. Okay, so let's go through the view step by step. Let's go through everything that's on this screen piece by piece. So one of the other things that we'll be doing a lot throughout this tutorial is going to be moving around our viewport a lot, or moving around our stage. So we're going to be wanting to learn how to rotate the viewport like this. We're going to want to know how to zoom in and out, and we're going to want to know how to pan around like this. So physically moving the camera around a little bit. So the way we'll do that, we'll go through step by step. So the most important one, or I would say probably one of the most used areas, is the panning like this. So this is you physically moving the camera around so that you can see areas of the scene that you wouldn't be able to see before. And the way that we do that is by holding down the Option key, or if you're on a PC, you'll be holding down the Alt key and then clicking and holding anywhere in the viewport and then dragging around like this. And as you can see, you'll be sort of moving around in no time. The next part to learn is going to be rotating the viewport. So the way that we do that, very similarly, but instead of clicking, or instead of pressing and holding down the Option key, we're going to press and hold down the Command key. Or if you're on a PC, you're going to be pressing and holding the Control key and then clicking and dragging the mouse again anywhere inside the viewport. So that should again have that sort of desired effect of basically rotating the camera around so that you can see areas of the viewport that you couldn't before. And then finally, if you want to zoom in and out, you've got a few options. If your mouse has a scroll wheel, you can simply just scroll in and out like that. Or if you're working on a touchpad, you can well, on a Mac anyway, you can use 2 fingers to go in and out. But if you don't have access to a scroll wheel, or if you don't have a trackpad, then you can hold down the Command and Option buttons. So both buttons that we were using before. So Command and Option on a Mac, but Control and Alt if you're on a PC. And then again, clicking and dragging anywhere in the viewport. And you can move left to right to zoom in and out, or you can move up and down to zoom out. That will have the same effect. So try to get yourself to a point where you're pretty comfortable moving around the viewport, because you're going to be using this a lot, and it really helps to get to grips with this as early as possible to make your life easier in the long run. Okay, so the next area that we're going to cover is the preview window, which does exactly what it sounds like it does. It shows you a preview of your live filter on the face of this very, very handsome gentleman here. You can also change this to be your own face if you want to by clicking on the video option here and then clicking on the webcam that you have set up. As you can see, now I can see my face here. But if you don't want to, you can also select one of these real-time simulation videos. I'm just going to leave it as this guy. The cool thing about the preview window is whenever we add anything to our filter, so 3D objects, 2D objects, or whatever else, we'll see this preview window update live with all those things that have been added to our filter, which is really, really cool. Okay, next up, we've got the assets panel, and right now it's looking a little bit empty, but I promise you that it will be it will be filled with things. This should kind of be used as almost like your library. From here, we're gonna be importing all kinds of different things into this assets bin to use in our scene later on down the line. So an asset could be a 3D model, for example, or it could be a block of text, for example, or a 2D image that you might want to attach to your filter. Plenty of things. So the beauty of the assets panel is you can import them from the AR library, which is supplied by Spark AR themselves, or you can import from your own computer. So if I wanted to import an image of a picture of me, for example, to use in my own filter, I can, which is really, really useful. Best bits for last. The scene panel just over here is where you can see everything that's inside your viewport laid out in a nice hierarchical view. So at the very, very top of our hierarchy, we have our device. If I click on this little triangle here, you can see it spins out and we've got a camera and a microphone. If I click on that camera, you can see in the viewport that highlights. And if I then click on this little triangle again to see what's inside of that camera, we've got focal distance, we've got an ambient light, and we've got a directional light. You don't need to worry too much about what these are at the moment, as we'll get into them in detail as we're building our filter. But all you really need to know is when you're selecting items inside the hierarchical, the scene panel just here, you should be able to see them illuminate in the viewport. And same applies if you click on them inside the viewport. So if I click off and then click on the directional light again, you should see that that's been selected in the viewport, and it's also been selected in the scene panel. Again, I will be going over this stuff in a bit more detail as we're building out our filter, but for the time being, it's good to just get a whistle-stop tour of how Spark AR is structured. I want to show you for the time being is the inspector window. Now that is this block on the right-hand side of the screen here, and the best way of demonstrating to you exactly what it does is by going ahead and selecting one of the elements inside of our view for the time being. So I'm going to go to our scene view on the left-hand side of the screen here. I'm going to select our directional light. And now if we look over at the inspector window on the right side of the screen, we can see that we've got all of these properties that we can use to fine tune that light. So we could adjust the color of the light. We could adjust the intensity, which is the brightness. We could fine tune the position. We could fine tune the rotation. And as you can see, if I cycle through any of these other elements inside my scene view, the inspector window updates with properties that are exclusively available to that element, which is really, really useful. Again, we'll get into more detail on that later on down the line, but it's super powerful and going to be really useful while you're building your filter. And that's it for now. There is a lot more under the hood of Spark AR that we will be going into in a little bit more detail later on down the line. But for the time being, this should get us through the next few videos, and then we can go into detail on those other more advanced areas of Spark AR as the course progresses.